Okay, what's happening? Today we are going to do lab exercise 9. So go to Blackboard, there's 3 files, there'll be these ones, Cook County zip codes, lab 9 database, lab 9 simple graphing. And we're going to do some basic stuff, transferring data between Access and Excel. And the short version of this, Access is database software. You can do database stuff with it. Excel is spreadsheet software. You can do spreadsheet stuff with it. So things like mathematical calculations, charts, those are easier in Excel. Things like formatting data and ensuring that it follows different type restrictions, like whether it's going to be a number or text or how many characters it can have, that's easier in Access. So in many cases, it's useful to have data in one form or another and be able to transfer it back and forth. All right. So first thing we're going to do is just do a basic graph. Okay, so if you have any data in Access, you want to do a graph on it, well, the easiest thing to do is to import that data into Excel or export it to Excel and then make a graph out of it. But here we already have it in Excel, so we're just going to skip ahead. So open up the simple graphing file. Ta-da! You'll see this little batch of data here and move it over. And all you got to do, select it, select the range A1 to B9, and go to the Insert tab up here. Right, and over here, there's a bunch of different kinds of charts. So the one we're going to pick is this one. It says Insert Line or Area Chart. And the first one, just this very first 2D line. And you click on that, boom, and it makes that kind of chart. Okay, there's a bunch of different other line styles you could have. So if you want to explore them on your own, by all means, check that out. Okay, so that's it. That's how you make a chart. All right, you'll also notice that the axes are filled out automatically, right? So the different quarters, that's the x-axis, the first column here, the different sales values, that's the y value of each data point. Okay, so that's that. Second thing, importing data from Excel into Access. Okay, so in order to do that, we are going to first open lab9.database, which is an Access file. So wherever you have those files stored, do lab9.database. Okay, let's get rid of that. And you'll see here there's pre-built four tables, basically the same stuff we've been working with when we did Access, customer, item, purchase, zip code. And we have a pre-built query that if you run it, basically shows who bought what stuff in what cities. All right, if you want to check it out, go into the design view, see what all is in the query there, but the relationships are pre-built, so you don't have to do anything with that. The focus of this exercise is importing and exporting the data. So go ahead and close that out. So first thing, if you want to tell Access that you want to bring in a spreadsheet file to append it to your data, what you do is first go to external data, all right, and we can do new data source. All right, so external data form, select new data source, select from file, click on Excel. All right, so this is an easy one, but we'll do that from file and the option Excel. Okay, so select that, we bring up this pop-up window. And here, all right, go into your browser here, and let's see, we'll go, I have these in IDS 200, LX9, and we are going to pull it from, which file are we doing here? We are doing zip codes. Okay, so let's pull that, append it, and this will append this batch of zip code data into our zip code table. Okay, so when we say where do we want this stuff to go, we are going to append a copy of the data to the particular table zip codes, right? Because here's a batch of zip codes that we're bringing in, and so we just want to append it to that same table in Access. Okay. And then what else? We just click on OK because we're good. So, ta-da! As long as the formatting is correct, and here the formatting is, we have a zip code number, we have a city name, that's fine. Just do next and import the table zip code. And if you wanted to do some analysis on it afterwards, you could click that, but we don't need to. We're just going to go ahead, boom, and done. And if you wanted to, you could poke around in that zip code and do a before and after comparison and see that all those Cook County zip codes got thrown into our mix. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there's that. Next thing, exporting results from an Access query to an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so we will once again, right, we have in our access file, we have our query, this one purchase query, and suppose we wanted to export results from that. So we run this query, we get a bunch of results, and let's say we want to send that to Access. Okay, so over here in the export cluster, just click on Excel. Okay, and that's going to send it to an Excel file. So here we select the name. If you want to call it something else, you can. You can just update what the name is. It'll create the new file for you automatically. And collect the format as well. So we'll click a couple of buttons in here. Okay, so the first one, export data with formatting and layout, right? So basically all that same kind of formatting that we have in Access, it's going to carry that forward into Excel. Whatever appears in Access, like for example, these dates using the short date form, that's what's going to appear. These fields that have currency symbols, they're going to appear the same way, right? So all that's going to be the same. And the second thing we're going to click on is open the destination file after the operation is complete. All right, so that'll pop open our file. So we'll create this new Excel file, and all this data we have here, these 8 query results, I believe it's 8, yeah, it's going to appear in Excel. So we run this, ta-da, give it a second. There we go. Got our new file, right? And we have these same results, same stuff as we had in Access, right? You do a little side-by-side comparison. Let me get rid of him. Okay, and it's all the same stuff, but now it's in Excel. And if we want to do some analysis on this, for example, like if down in F10, you wanted to do text average, and in G10, do the function equals average G2 to say G9, find the average sales amount, boom, we could do that. And it's pretty easy to do in Excel. Okay, last thing we can do is pivot tables. Okay, so we want to do a pivot table. All right, go to Insert. Over here in the middle of stuff, we see there's a pivot chart option. If you do the drop down, whoop, you get the option pivot chart and pivot table. And that's a good one. So we're going to click on that. That brings both things. So use the default options. It's going to select this range. Oh, no, we're going to dial that back down to G10. All right, we'll dial that down. So that's going to select our purchase range, right? All of our original data, and we're going to put the pivot stuff in a new worksheet. So we have our basic pivot table stuff over here, but we also are going to auto create some charts, right? So we can create some pivot table charts based on our data. So one thing we can do, suppose we want to drag the sales amount, drag that down to the sum of values. Okay, you can see that, aha, we have a total amount and a total amount up here. Drag the city field over here to the axis categories, boom, and then the x-axis is going to say, oh, here's our different cities, Chicago, Evanston, Rockford, and we have different sales amounts for them. And then drag the item name to legend, okay? So that's going to be over here, we have all of our different items, and every different item has its own separate column. And up here, we can see we have separate entries for all of those. So it's kind of neat. You can do all this pivot table stuff. If you have the data in Access, it's pretty easy to pull it from Access, put it in an Excel file, do all this charting type stuff on it. So now you know. Anyway, hope this was useful. Thank you for your attention. We'll see you some other time. Good night.